You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Good morning, Chicago. Welcome to the Fully Alive, the radio program and podcast of the Archdiocese of Chicago's Office of Human Dignity and Solidarity. I'm Dawn Fitzpatrick. I'm your host this morning. And this morning, I have a packed show with some interesting guests. And our first guest this morning is coming to us from the Pro-Life Secretariat. He is the new public policy director at the Pro-Life Secretariat at the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops, Robert Vega. Welcome, Robert.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Sure. I'm so excited you're here. Let me tell you a little bit about Robert. He worked for a Texas congressman for about 7 years, primarily on tax policy. And he was also a coordinator of young adult ministry at a Capitol Hill parish at the same time. Then he joined the USCCB in 2018, serving as public policy advisor in the Marriage and Family Life Office for over 4 years. And he's now our director of public policy at the Pro-Life Secretariat. And he's been there for about 3 months. He lives in Northern Virginia with his wife and 1-year-old. Welcome again. It's so nice to have you.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
Right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, first of all, what brought you to the pro-life ministry?
Well, the pro-life arena has always been, near and dear to my heart as part of the overall fabric of fundamental social concerns that have really motivated my desire to work in the political space for my whole adult life and even earlier. It's part of why I sought out Capitol Hill in the first place. As you mentioned, though, I started in tax policy primarily, but I also did handle various social issues for the congressman for whom I worked as well, including pro-life issues, religious liberty, marriage redefinition as that debate went on, and things of that nature.
Sure.
And in my mind, they, the ultimate socioeconomic well-being of society, that we're looking for, it, just really depends on the, integrity of the family and intactness of the family and, respect, of course, for human life at its very beginning. And while serving in young adult ministry for several years, it was also just very natural to be facilitating charitable service opportunities with the local pregnancy center, and engaging in fundraising for help for pregnant women on that front locally as well. And so this was the opportunity to work on pro-life activities from the from the political perspective and angle of things was really just made all the sense in the world to me to kind of marry up these convictions and passions and interests.
Sure. I'd see a huge crossover. I mean, I feel like a lot of my work here in Respect Life relates to the family and to marriages. It certainly is a natural handoff. So great. It's nice to know that you have that experience. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are currently concerns or things you're working on that are certainly our listeners might be interested in. I know often I'll get alerts to, get people calling their congressmen or their senators, or that we need certain prayers for certain things happening in Washington. So I know this one's been in the news a lot, and that's the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. Interestingly enough, it actually passed in the House recently, correct?
Yes, yes, it did just about 2 weeks ago on the 11th.
Okay, and so that's certainly big news because they've been working on that year after year, and it hasn't gone through. But finally, at least that's some progress, right?
It is to see it pass in one chamber is the kind of victory we haven't seen in Congress in several years, but it was on an almost party line basis, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so we see a tough road before it in the Senate, and certainly then also with the president, if it were ever to come before him.
Certainly. But I mean, I think it still makes a statement that there are people that agree with that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what that act would do?
So the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act would require that if an infant is born alive upon a failed attempted abortion, that they be given the same medical care as any child born prematurely at that same age. It's kind of unbelievable to think about, and that this actually happens, but there are plenty of stories, both told in testimonies on congressional hearings and then in statistics that have come out from the CDC, that there are a non-negligible number of times when a child who's old enough to survive outside the womb is born in the course of an abortion, and then at times is left to die, either suffocating in a bag or left alone in a closet. It's absolutely horrid.
It is.
And so this would simply say that you have to provide them the same medical care as any other child born prematurely at the same time, and also would require transportation to a hospital, because the kind of facilities and professionals that are providing the abortion aren't necessarily equipped for the long-term sustaining of that child. So then they also would be required to see to it that they're transported to the hospital. And this really should, in my view, just be a bare minimum that we can do to affirm life of children that are even actually born in the last minutes of an attempted abortion here. And so the resistance to that, for whatever slate of reasons there are, really kind of demonstrates the extremeness, I would say, of many of those in power who are not open to protecting life alongside us. And it's, even if it's difficult to see passing in the Senate this term, measures like this are critical to ensuring that our message and our body of support for pro-life measures keeps carrying forward for the long term, till the day that we can see results and we can see change. And sometimes there's some discouragement there, but of course we just saw just last year the amazing, miraculous overturn of Roe v. Wade after about 50 years. So the movement, as you all know, is very much a long marathon. And so, even when you don't see passage on the immediate horizon of a given helpful piece of legislation, we continue to beat the drum of support out there and ensure that members of Congress know that their voters care about these issues. And we will keep doing that for as long as it takes.
I mean, it's just amazing to me that people, human beings, who normally would be all about taking care of children. I mean, these are the same people who pass all kinds of laws about how we have to care for children at a minimum, make sure that they're well cared for, and then they don't believe in keeping a child alive or giving a child health care when they're born alive. That just makes No sense to me. This shouldn't be a party issue. This should certainly just be a human justice issue. It's just amazing. I don't know. I'm always like just floored at some of the things that people will do in the name of their party. It's amazing. So anyway, I guess that's where we are with this. At least
no, I don't disagree.
It's awful. I mean, our country's anyway. I won't get going off on that. But it's just important that people know what's happening, and that we were a little bit closer on that one, but we still have to get through the Senate and the president, of course. But it just seems like an absolute minimum. It makes sense to me. So, but that's where we are on that. Okay, let's go on to the next one. How about the Protecting Individuals with Down Syndrome Act?
Sure. Well, this is a bill that would prohibit abortions based on the fact that a baby is diagnosed with or otherwise expected to have Down syndrome.
Right.
Because as we tragically know, a massive proportion of those who are diagnosed with Down syndrome in the womb are aborted, and this is really in addition to all the other horrible ways in which to characterize abortion, this is really discrimination against the disabled persons.
Certainly. Well, and we just had the March for Life in Washington, and there was a beautiful young woman who gave a talk from the podium who had Down syndrome, and her sister is a sister of life. I mean, it was just a beautiful, beautiful witness. And it shows you that somebody with Down syndrome certainly has high functioning ability, can give a speech, can talk about how important life is. Why would we just all of a sudden assume that person has no worth? So.
Absolutely. And I recall a time being so impressed when a gentleman with Down syndrome testified before a congressional committee regarding similar measures and considerations several years ago. It's just absolutely gut-wrenching,
yes.
not because of anything he was suffering from, but because the place of hurt from which he spoke as well, to just knowing that there are people out there that would be okay with preferring to see that he had never been born. And
yeah, it's just amazing. And of course,
and so that
I was going to say,
sorry.
Go ahead, Robert.
Well, I was going to say, and so for that reason, we raised this bill as well, both this and the Born Alive one. Our committee chairman, now Bishop Burbidge, having been elected just at this past November Assembly of Bishops to be the pro-life chair, had sent letters to Congress fully articulating our support for all these measures and reasons.
And has that act gone anywhere at this point?
Not yet in this term, but
okay.
It is January. This term, this term just started.
Sure.
And in fact, on the Senate side, this is actually their first week in session. They got sworn in on January 3rd, and then didn't come back into session until this week on the Senate side. So it's still relatively early, but we will keep on advocating to
bring bills
forward and not just have it be limited to the March for Life season and the enthusiasm that comes with that, which coincides in January with the beginning of a new term.
Great. So that music means it's break time. So I will see you in a minute, Robert, and if everyone can hang with us through the break, we'll see you soon.
On Sunday, February 5th for the Divine Affair, one of the premier wine tasting events in Chicago. Sample and purchase wines and craft beers from around the world. Attend a wine appreciation and beer tasting seminar while you enjoy gourmet hors d'oeuvres and fabulous desserts. A spectacular silent auction and raffle are included as well. All proceeds benefit Catholic Charities programs and services that help anyone in need throughout Cook and Lake counties. Purchase your Divine Affair tickets online today at catholiccharities.net/divine. Our thanks to Louis Glunz Wines and the Joseph Glunz family for their generous support of Divine Affair.
People always say, how can you spend your day with 3-year-olds? Seeing the changes that they go through and just the journey and how they grow, this is a very rewarding job. Even though at the end of the day, we're not the highest paid people on earth. And when I have a parent contact me and say, my child loves school, that to me, I'm setting that foundation for their love of learning. Because really, you are changing lives, you are molding lives.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Did you know that Catholic Charities accepts car donations? If you're ready to free up space in your garage and put a stop to all those expenses that go along with owning a car, we will gratefully accept your donation, whether the car is running or not. You choose a pickup time that is convenient for you, and we will make the donation as easy as possible, free of charge. You'll receive a charitable donation receipt as well. We accept all types of vehicles nationwide, and you will know that your donation is made to Catholic Charities, an agency you can trust. To learn more about donating your car, call 877-786-4483. That's 877-786-4483. Thank you.
I believe in the risen one. I believe I overcome by the power of his blood. Amen. Amen.
Welcome back to Fully Alive, the radio program and podcast of the Office of Human Dignity and Solidarity at the Archdiocese of Chicago. I'm your host this morning, Dawn Fitzpatrick from Respect Life Ministries. And my guest at the moment is Robert Vega, who is the Public Policy Director at the Pro-Life Secretariat at the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops. Hello again, Robert.
Hello.
You're still there, which is great. It's so nice to be able to interview people on Zoom. I can have it's much more entertaining for everyone than just listening to you on the phone. So this is great. All right, so we were just talking about a couple of things going on in our Congress, and there are more things that we hope to see happen. One of them is the Save Moms and Babies Act. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that one?
So this legislation is part of a trend that we're seeing in response to the proliferation of chemical abortion pills now that we're seeing from the administration in response to the Dobbs decision, or at least some of this legislation had been introduced in prior years to limit the dissemination and proliferation of such drugs, but we're really seeing these strong reintroductions and increased number of bills in this vein because of the actions taken by the FDA and the Department of Justice in recent months to try to push the availability of abortion pills out there. And so the Save Moms and Baby Act in particular is one that would prevent the FDA from approving any new or future abortion drugs, and would also restrict the conditions for the administration of existing abortion drug regimens.
Yes. Well, and just so everybody knows, and they may be aware of this, recently a law was passed that the FDA has approved abortion pills to be disseminated through our pharmacies, and very, very easily, which would make anybody's home an abortion clinic, essentially. So There's a lot of dangers with these drugs. First of all, if nobody's ever seeing their use, somebody might take it at the wrong time, and there's a very small window of time that it's I would never say healthy, but certainly okay for a woman to take that without it causing her horrible harm. And of course, there's complications that can ensue regardless. And then you have young girls and college students having to look at their dead baby in their home, which is pretty awful, right? So, I mean, that's essentially what's been approved. So what we're talking about is let's not approve any more of these type of drug cocktails, correct?
Right, exactly. Which, in that case, I think the real benefit of the bill would be kind of restricting the administration of the current ones, because I don't necessarily know of any, new drugs that are going to be coming out.
Okay.
The current regimen is, kind of, already well established. But another similar bill, the Tele-Abortion Prevention Act, would kind of also help restore the rules that existed up until recently that would at least require a healthcare professional to provide a physical examination of the patient, because it's exactly what you're saying. There are, in addition to the obvious fatal
Complications,
risk for the baby, there's complications for the mother if their health isn't suited for. If they have an ectopic pregnancy, for example, and they don't know it yet, because they haven't had such an examination. If they are further along in the pregnancy, then they realize and haven't had that examined and confirmed. Already under proper administration, the complications for chemical abortion have been found in some cases to be 4 times as high of a rate than that of surgical abortion. And so you can imagine enabling more people to take these drugs without the, again, until recent existing rules about in-person dispensing by a physician, that those complications and dangers are going to be all the more worse. And so, that kind of, that's kind of the background on which this action occurred from the FDA back on January 3rd, where there used to be the rule of it had to be dispensed by the physician for kind of an in-person distribution and instruction and examination. And then during COVID, they allowed a telehealth and mail order version, ostensibly temporarily when COVID first started, and then now they've made that permanent and created the allowance for retail pharmacies to be able to do it with a prescription, and if the pharmacies successfully apply for certification, which seems like it's going to be relatively easy. And CVS, Walgreens, and Rite Aid, for some of its locations, have all indicated that they're on board.
That's just so scary. Gosh. I mean, when we talk about the other side is always touting that they want safe abortions. This is not safe. It's not safe. Why wouldn't you have common sense rules around this at the very least? What we're talking about is, think about the fact that somebody has pills in their home and they put them in the cabinet. Maybe they change their mind for a short period of time, and then all of a sudden they're way too far along to be taking them, and they decide to take them. I mean, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. So it's okay. So moving right along, what is the bill to nullify FDA action?
Well, that is, as it says, there's this one of the suite of pieces of legislation that are coming out as this term begins to try to counter what's going on at the FDA here. And I think of course these actual bills will not be signed by the current president, but I think they're the groundwork for an overall effort of accountability that we're seeing, which is going to involve all hands on deck and all parts of government. So Congress, ultimately is going to have to go through the annual appropriations, government funding packages, and whether members of Congress who are pro-life are going to try to condition government funding on also defunding these activities by the FDA could be an issue that comes up. There are lawsuits out there against what the FDA has done, including one that actually started a little bit before by the Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine that was targeting some of the older decisions by the FDA that had cleared abortion pills to the market that will necessarily now kind of involve the current developments as well. So so we're going to have to address this on all fronts to achieve practical results, and the introduction of bills really is more just kind of the initial setting of the stake in the ground of what those of us who are defending life are aiming for.
Well, and then of course we're always looking to find ways to help women be able to choose life very comfortably and confidently. And so the Caring for Mothers Act is one that I think will help people choose life. And that requires health insurance companies to allow adoptive parents to temporarily put birth moms on their health insurance so that they can help them to be able to carry that child to term, like I said, confidently. So that's one that we're working towards, I would imagine.
Yes. So currently some health plans do already provide this option to adoptive parents, which can be very helpful to enable the birth mother to choose life. It does only at this time cover the pregnancy and postpartum related health needs of the birth mother. And this, so this legislation would make it a requirement for health plans to offer that. And I'm glad you also just bring up in general the things that we're for helping enable women to choose life, because
yes, absolutely.
When we also the 4 chairman bishops back in October had sent a letter to Congress as the term was wrapping up, and we saw a lot of responses to Dobbs from both sides of the aisle and from both chambers that were trying to take a broader, holistic approach to what it fully means to be pro-life.
Yes.
And some of them were looking at maternal health improvements. Some of them are looking at child tax credit, parental leave policies for workers, because that's always a huge concern. People have to choose between their job and their baby.
Yes.
Child care needs, and we are for all the above. We are for
absolutely
finding ways to strengthen all of the above to be truly life affirming and really empower women to be able to say yes to life.
Absolutely. And just so everyone knows, I often talk about our Walking with Moms in Need campaign, and we're working hard to get those in all of our parishes, along with dioceses all over the country. And this is highly sponsored by the Pro-Life Secretariat. So you can look back at our web our shows and see that there's much on that topic as well. With that in mind, we are just about out of time. Can you, Robert, quickly share with everyone how they can get involved, how they can learn more about what's going on with the Pro-Life Secretariat and lobbying in D.C.? How can they find out more, and what can they do?
Sure. Well, as Mike said, we go to usecb.org, and there are tabs there for taking action to sign up for action alerts, and you can also find your way to the pro-life activities page and find out what we've been up to, and find action alert tabs there to sign up for our newsletter of when to contact your representatives when something's coming up, or there's certainly other pastoral or ministry programs in which to keep up with us as well. We've been having our novena, our novena upon the March for Life now as well, that people have been following along with.
Okay. Well, that's great. And I'm always a great fan of what you all do at the Pro-Life Secretariat. And it's been so nice to meet you in the last, I just met you at the March for Life. Of course, your predecessors were great friends of our office here and of Chicago. And I hope to see you around some more. Thank you for joining us today, Robert. And all of you watching, listening, stick with us. I have another guest coming after the break. God bless.
I was covered in sin and shame. I heard mercy call my name. He rolled the sun away. Amen. Amen. I'm alive because he lives. Amen. Amen. Let my song join the world that never ends. Because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Because he lives, every fear is gone. I know he holds my life, my future in his hands. Amen. Amen. I'm alive because he lives. Amen. Amen.
Catholic Charities' Refugee Resettlement Program has been especially busy this year, assisting individuals and families who have fled dangerous situations in their homeland, including Afghanistan and the Ukraine. The Refugee Resettlement Team helps with everything they need to start to rebuild their lives in a new country, including housing, employment, clothing, food, English classes, and referrals for legal and immigration services. The refugees are tremendously grateful for the compassion and practical help they're receiving, and they're giving back and helping each other plan for a brighter, safer future. Volunteer opportunities are currently available for those who would like to be family mentors and tutors so children and adults can practice English. To learn more about these rewarding opportunities, call 312-655-7096. That's 312-655-7096.
I am a seminarian.
The church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
The cemetery ministry is a core ministry of our Catholic faith tied to the corporal works of mercy. It's comforting to know that our Catholic cemeteries are caring for the remains of our loved ones awaiting the resurrection. There are 44 Archdiocese of Chicago Catholic cemeteries willing to help you in your time of loss. Call 708-449-6100 or visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org. Catholic Cemeteries, serving the Catholic community since 1837.
You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Thanks for letting us be part of your morning. Now again, Catholic Chicago.
I believe in the risen one. I believe I overcome by the power of his blood.
Welcome to the second half of Fully Alive, the radio show and podcast of the Office of Human Dignity and Solidarity at the Archdiocese of Chicago. I'm Dawn Fitzpatrick. I hope you heard the first half of our show because we had a nice talk with Robert Vega of the Pro-Life Secretariat at the USCCB about all kinds of things that we are in favor of, for Congress to pass happening in Washington, D.C. And my second guest actually is a proponent of all those things. He is the founder and president of Life Runners, which is the world's largest pro-life team with over 20,800 teammates who wear Remember the Unborn jersey as a public witness in over 3,300 cities. Welcome, Pat Castle. How are you?
Hey, awesome to see you again, Dawn. It just seems like a blink and we were getting ready to march for life in DC.
And we were. And Pat is just larger than life, and I see him everywhere at these events. You can't miss him.
Well, it helps when you're patron saint for the apostolate of St. Padre Pio. So I just tap into that bilocation.
That's awesome, because that must be why I see you everywhere, because here you are, there you are, and other people see you too. And you can't help but walk by Pat without him grabbing you out of the crowd and giving you a shirt to wear.
Slapping you a high five.
That's right. And actually, at one point, my husband was the newest life runner, right? Now he's not.
That's
because
correct.
I'm sure you recruited many last week.
There was 116 new life runners that joined the team at the DC March for Life Expo, and your husband, Deacon Mike, was the first new life runner at the
last
50th anniversary March for Life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. He's already worn the shirt several times, or the jersey, I should say. So,
of course, he's a warrior. I can tell he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to put on this armor of God with the big cross on the front, and then of course the Remember the Unborn message on the back.
Yes. No, he likes to wear those kind of shirts when he's out because people notice, and sometimes people will stop him and ask about them. So, that's a great message to be carrying on your person, and to have somebody say, I think I'm going to ask about that. So,
and even more so now, because we know that as with Roe overturned last year on June 24th, on Nellie Gray's birthday, the founder of the March for Life, for those who hadn't heard that little Holy Spirit alignment. I mean, what a neat, incredible thing, that alignment, and what a blessing and an honor to Nellie Gray for all her work, getting the March for Life going. And it mattered, because here we are, post-Roe America. However, we've all been listening to the news, and we know that as abortion facilities are closing, which is yay, abortion facilities are closing, we also have heard the news that the FDA has approved pharmacies to be able to register to provide the RU486, the abortion pill. And so now when you imagine, going from like here in Nebraska, where we have 3 abortion facilities,
in the whole
and imagine that
state?
in the city of Omaha, right, only 3. And of course, we're working hard in this next legislative session to ban abortion in the state of Nebraska and be like the other 14 states that have come very close to either all or almost all bans on abortion. And we're working to be one of those states here in Nebraska. But with the FDA's decision, how many Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aids are there just in the city of Omaha? It's got to be 20 to 30 pharmacies just in our city, and those become little abortion facilities. So now imagine how important Life Runners messaging is, that when we're out there, before we could go stand in front of the target, like we knew the target that we needed to go minister at was an abortion facility. We knew that, hey, this is the little mini concentration camp, if you will, in my town. And I'm going to go stand there as a witness for life and reach out to mothers with compassion, which means to suffer with, and look compassionate, be compassionate in that outreach, whether praying the rosary, which we think of how many stories we heard, Dawn, just by someone giving witness to, I saw someone praying the rosary and decide to not pull in. And so we go from that model to now all of these pharmacies, in effect, are little abortion facilities. And so it's even more important that we reach people with an encouraging message, like on the back of our jersey, Dawn, Remember the Unborn. Why? Why is it important that someone who's in an unexpected pregnancy sees an encouraging message? Here's why. Because 78% of post-abortion mothers surveyed reported that if one person would have encouraged them to choose life, or if they had seen an encouraging signs, they tell stories of, seeing murals where it says, birth, seeing billboards that have a life-affirming message, seeing a bumper sticker, like a Life Runners bumper sticker that says, "Remember the unborn." They said that's all they needed in the darkness of the culture that is, not encouraging life. Just that little spark would have been enough for them to go, I'm choosing life. So that's Life Runners, Dawn. And Life Runners and wearing that witness is even more important in post-Roe America because of the changes in the laws with the FDA.
Well, and we just talked about a bunch of that on the last half of the show with Robert Vega, and how, it's so important that we are proponents of life-affirming legislation. And I think, it's interesting because I know for a lot of years people felt like their own beliefs were private, or they didn't want to stand up for them, or they were afraid to talk in public about it. We can't do that anymore. It's time that we wear the truth on our, you're wearing it literally on your person. We wear it in our speech, we wear it in our actions. We are called to stand up for truth in the public square. I've actually had priests ask me how that we could do that they thought that would hurt our tax status, but that's not true. What we can't do is we cannot lobby for a particular candidate or a particular party, but we can certainly approach the candidates that are running and ask them if they're pro-life. And we can certainly reach out to the existing legislature and say, you know what, I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to hold you accountable. And so, and of course, we need to move hearts, which is what you're talking about doing. We've already gotten rid of a horrible thing that the Supreme Court passed in 1973. That's gone, but we still have laws that kill people. We still have laws that kill people. We should not be legislating death. We should not be legislating murder. And in order to stop that, first we have to help get people to change their mind, change their hearts, and that's only going to be done with love. And I see you. Pat, I see you with you exude that love in everything you do. So
I look at Dawn, when I look at the litmus, I'm a chemist. I use the word litmus. And a little fun fact for everybody, the Pope's a chemist. How about that?
I did not
Who knew
realize
out there that the Pope has a chemistry degree, which is super cool because when you're a scientist, you look out and it doesn't hinder your faith as a scientist. It accentuates it. You look out and go, wow, God, this is amazing what you did.
I know, and he did it all. He did it all. That's why it amazes me that people think that we're Catholic, we're anti-science. Are you kidding me?
No.
Where do you think science came from? My father's an engineer, and he taught us science when I was a little kid. We had a microscope in my house. It's just
and so when I think about when God's working. One of the litmus tests of knowing God's working and being life-saving, that the Holy Spirit is at work, is when there is a testimony of encouragement. Look at all the miracles in the Bible. Look at all your own personal miracles. Look at when you've seen God at work. And one of the characteristics of the Holy Spirit at work is encouragement. And that's loving to encourage one another. We're encouraging people. We're imparting courage for what? To do the will of God. And of course, it's God's will for us to have life and have life abundant, John 10:10. It's God's will that we give testimony to the awesomeness of life and that we reflect that glory in the form of joy and peace. So you're right. You're right, Dawn. That's what's gonna end abortion.
Well, and incidentally, the name of this show is Fully Alive, and we took it right from John 10:10. That's where we got it. It came to live life
Fully
and live
alive.
it. Have you live it abundantly and live it to the full. So on that note, we need to take a break, and then we can talk all about how people can get involved with you and how they can make a difference.
And as we wind in the break, the best news for people to keep listening: running is optional for Life Runners.
It's
so
optional,
stay tuned.
Yes.
I was dead in the grave. I was covered in sin and shame. I heard mercy call my name. He rolled the sun away. Amen.
Catholic Charities invites you to First Look for Charity, an extraordinary black tie evening at McCormick Place on Friday, February 10th. Enjoy an elegant, private reception and be among the first to explore the latest in automotive innovation at the Chicago Auto Show. Your ticket also gives you the chance to win either a 2023 Honda CR-V or a 2023 Subaru Crosstrek. As you register, please select Catholic Charities so a portion of your ticket purchase benefits those we serve. Join us at First Look for Charity on Friday, February 10th. Visit CatholicCharities.net to get your tickets today.
This is year 44 for me teaching. When I started here, there were teachers here that had taught me when I was a student. Now I'm the old person. Right now, I teach junior high math. I love when kids find what I'm teaching to be fun and they get it. I see that light bulb go off and it's a thrill. People are always amazed. What? You're here for 44 years? It's hard for me to believe, frankly. I love what I do. Every summer I think, oh, I miss the classroom. Even on the weekends, I think I can't wait to get back on Monday and teach those quadratic equations.
Shape the next generation of leaders. Teach. Apply today at archchicago.org/schooljobs.
Catholic Charities has had the privilege of helping people in need in Cook and Lake County for more than 100 years. We would like to take this opportunity to thank our frontline workers who, despite the unprecedented challenges of the past 2 years, continue to excel at their jobs every day. From the warehouse staff members who pack boxes of nutritious foods for low-income seniors, to the dedicated WIC employees who have remained open for families with children under the age of 5, to our volunteers and restaurant partners who ensure that meals are available for those experiencing hunger, to our service coordinators and our professional counselors who continue their vital work in innovative ways, to our food pantry staff, and to all those who work at Catholic Charities Call Center, finding solutions for every person who reaches out to us for help. Charity is at the heart of all you do, and we salute you.
Thanks for listening or watching the February 2023 episode of Fully Alive. I'm Dawn Fitzpatrick, and we are talking with Pat Castle, who is the founder and president of Life Runners, a very dynamic, exciting organization that is fighting and standing up for the beauty of the unborn and the sanctity of life. Thanks for being with us, Pat. We were just talking about how important it is to do what you do and for people to find their niche and really stand up for the truth. So maybe doing some of what Pat does is some of my listener watchers niche. So why don't we talk a little bit about how they can get involved? And as you said, running, although it's in your title,
is optional.
But it's optional.
So it's optional. So here's the niche. You know, people will say to me like, "Hey, Pat, that Life Runner thing, that's your thing." And I'll reply back and say, "Listen, this Life Runner thing, in the spirit of Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1-2, when we can proclaim that therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of pro-life witnesses, let us persevere in running this race set before us with our eyes fixed on you, Lord." So running is optional, but wearing your witness, as you said, Dawn, earlier, speaking up, bearing witness, evangelizing to the beauty of God's gift of life, defending that gift of life is really not optional. No. It's part of being a disciple. If Jesus said it and Jesus did it, guess what? That's what we're supposed to be saying and doing.
Right.
And so here we are. This gives folks another opportunity to, so the niche is everybody. We're all in this niche. You got to wear something. So why not wear a shirt? And so that those that are watching can see the front of my shirt, and I'll show you the back of it on the back of this little onesie. But those listening, the back of our jersey, we call it a jersey because we're the largest pro-life team in the world. And we really do teamy things, which maybe by the end of our conversation, Dawn, I'll rattle off some of those huddle points for people around the world.
Okay.
But we have a jersey in the back of it, like your husband, Deacon Mike, got one of these. It says, "Remember the unborn."
Yep.
And that message, people see it. It's on your back. So when you're walking through a grocery store, walking around the block, or going to a movie, or going to dinner, and you can get a shirt or a jacket, people see that message. And we talked in the first segment that message is encouraging. And it really does encourage mothers to choose life.
Yep.
And it encourages the influencers of those mothers to speak up and help them choose life. And so everybody's got to wear something. Why not wear a shirt or a jacket with a big cross on the front and a Holy Spirit dove in Jeremiah 1:5 on the front of the jersey, which is when God said to Jeremiah, "Jeremiah, I knew you even before you were in your mother's womb." So we know what God, thinks about when life begins and the value of life, as the title of this show is Fully Alive, John 10:10. And so everybody's qualified, whether the little onesie that I showed, parents will register their little babies as official life runners, which is really cool.
Right.
And then get them a onesie. And then we have our oldest life runner is 101 in a nursing home in Sioux City, Iowa, in a wheelchair.
Okay.
And wears her witness, wears her Remember the Unborn shirt. And so everybody can use that to do the speaking. The thing I like about the shirt is, one, it marks you in faith with that cross on the front. Pick up your cross and follow me. How about pick up a 4-ounce t-shirt cross or a 10-ounce jacket cross? And on the back, Matthew 25:40, what you do for the least of my brothers and sisters, we do for Jesus.
Yes.
So on the back, that Remember the Unborn, we are doing this for the least of our brothers and sisters. Therefore, we're doing it for Jesus. So in a shirt or a jacket, we are living out, we're wearing our faith, and we don't have to say anything, Dawn. The world is looking at your logos, looking at the messages. That's what we do. We're looking at what people are wearing, and this is life-saving wearing. So wear the witness, be life-saving. Go to liferunners.org, register to get our monthly updates, and order a shirt or a jacket and wear it. And you are a fully qualified, in action, faith in action life runner. There's lots of life runners in the Chicago area. There's over 21,000 around the world in 3,300 cities. And most of our life runners are in schools. How encouraging is this, everybody?
Very good.
That 8,800 of the 21,000 life runners are age 22 and younger, K to college. And there's 100 chapters of life runners in schools. How do you have a chapter of life runners in school? You have at least 5 students that are willing to put on a shirt that says Remember the Unborn and wear it to school on the first Wednesday of the month. So a lot of pro-life clubs at public and Catholic Christian schools will affiliate a Life Runners chapter and then wear that witness, that shirt, that Remember the Unborn jersey on the first Wednesday of the month. And some entire schools, it's cool. Like here in Omaha, we've got 4 schools, K to 8th grade schools, where every kid and every staff member has a Remember the Unborn shirt, and they wear it at school on the first Wednesday of the month for that bold, life-affirming witness.
So a big part of being on the team is simply wearing that shirt and getting other people to wear the shirt, and then walking around like you would go to the store, go to the gym, go to the movie theater, whatever. And then people start to ask you about it, and hopefully you can say, well, look at what Jeremiah tells us. And
you evangelize when they ask you about it.
Absolutely. And maybe you either help people to choose life or even to choose to stand up for life, right? So that's a big part of being on the team. Now tell us about the running part.
Okay, so the running part. So if you're listening, I'll first say, because I got to do this with a smile on my face. If you're just listening, I'm smiling right now. The non-running life runners are better life runners because they're walking and people can read their jersey easier and they can meditate on the message longer. So if you're a non-runner, fantastic. Our events also for the non-runners include walkers. So for example, August 26th, we will launch the largest spanning pro-life event in the world. if you're hearing that for the first time, you're like, what? What's that?
Bigger than the March for Life?
Bigger than the March for Life? Larger spanning. So from a geography and time. So the March for Life is the largest event. This is the largest spanning. So 40 days and 5,359 miles. So that's where we're able to back up largest spanning.
You can see we got a map up right now.
And there's the map. And so if you're looking at that, the good news is if you're along that course, then great. You can jump on and walk or run a 5K segment during the 40 days. If you're not on the course, you can make a pilgrimage. And if you don't want to make a pilgrimage, guess what, Dawn? Half of the miles are completed by life runners around the world, geographically separated from the course in their own neighborhoods.
Okay.
And you're scrolling down right now to the jersey. We do an annual Across America Relay shirt. And if you notice, Dawn, on the back side of the shirt you're showing right now, it says Post Row America. So this is going to be a great relay shirt for people that have been doing the relay for a while to be able to memorialize that will be our first relay in Post Row America. And then there's the medal. There's the finisher's medal you're showing right now for those that participate. So it's a participant's medal.
That's cool.
That you can also get when you register to do a 5K or many 5K legs of the Across America Relay. And it starts August 26th. It starts on the Golden Gate Bridge. It starts in front of the Margaret Sanger Planned Parenthood in New York City and then goes through Times Square. You heard it right. We're going to walk a big Remember the Unborn walk for that first segment through Times Square on August 26th in New York City. It also begins in Grand Forks, North Dakota. It also begins in San Antonio, Texas at the San Fernando Cathedral. Those 4 starting points, Dawn, and those that can't see the map in front of you, they converge in the middle of the country in Overland Park, Kansas, near Roe Park. How weird, because it's not the Roe v. Wade. Just happens,
to be called Roe
what
Park.
A great coincidence. That it finishes in Roe Park in Overland Park, Kansas, and it makes a cross. Hence the name Across America Relay.
Oh, you are clever. You are clever. That's definitely,
Praise God. And then the other little sneak in, Dawn, for events is we do a big national race each year where we go to a big national race with 50 to 250 life runners from across the country travel to it. Okay. The very first one, incidentally, for Chicago listeners, was our first Life Runners event was 12 October 2008, the Chicago Marathon. 12 of us. What a great number to start an apostolate. 12 of us ran the Chicago Marathon.
Well, and you had to qualify for that. So you've got some good runners in that group for sure.
Yeah. And the runners were there and we raised money for ultrasound equipment.
Awesome.
And so today, now it's age 0.1 to 101, runners and non-runners. But this year's event for the runners and walkers is the Crazy Horse Marathon, half marathon, 10K and 5K in the Black Hills of South Dakota. And that's in October.
Okay. So we only have like 30 seconds left. What's the last?
Okay. Let's do the cheer at the end.
Okay. We'll do your cheer. But also quick, tell everybody how to sign up for these things.
You got it.
Yeah.
Liferunners.org. Mm-hmm. So liferunners.org, register. You'll get our monthly updates, order a shirt or a jacket that says Remember the Unborn and wear it. And you will be a full active. And then let's close with a cheer. I'm going to give an all in Christ, Dawn. And if you could lead everybody listening and watching in a 4 pro-life.
Okay.
So here we go. Everyone participate wherever you're listening. Give a 4 pro-life when I give an all in Christ. So here we go. All in Christ.
4 pro-life.
All in Christ.
4 pro-life.
All in Christ.
4 pro-life. Woo.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Pat Castle. This has been a joy. And also thank you to Robert Vega from the USCCB. It's been nice having you both on. I will be back in March, and I hope we will have a whole bunch of new life runners joining my podcast in March. All right. God bless everyone. Goodbye.
God bless.
Join us every Monday through Friday at this time for Catholic Chicago. You can stream our programs live or listen to past programs by visiting our website, archchicago.org, and clicking on Radio TV. And please connect with Catholic Chicago on social media.
was covered in sin and shame. I heard mercy